Hello, fellow dungeon crawlers. My name is Richard, and welcome to my dungeon. Are you interested in Dungeons & Dragons from the 80s and would like to start dungeon crawling after a lot of time has passed? Today, I'm going to discuss the books I have already purchased. I'm going to start with Basic Dungeons & Dragons, where my personal adventures started. Then I'm going to discuss the rules compilation, known as the Rules Cyclopedia. These books will help us rediscover dungeon crawling again.
Dungeon Crawlers Level 1.
After the first season of Stranger Things, I definitely wanted to read more about dungeon crawling. So like any modern research, the first thing I do is I hit up YouTube. Through these videos, I discovered that 5e is now the latest version, but the last version I played was first edition, so that's quite a gap. At this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to have full-on adventure, or rather just read about the rules. And I did remember that the Rules Cyclopedia came out in the early 90s, and this book combined 4 editions, which are the Basic, Expert, Companion, and Masters. I think now it's called BECMI, so with an eBay search, I discovered that new versions of these books can be purchased. I do remember when the Rules Cyclopedia was new, I did flip through it many times at my local comics and games store, but I never purchased the book since I already had the box sets. With 4 rule sets, there's a lot of potential gaming just in this one book. Having separate books could also be cumbersome. Generally speaking, you would need to flip through the multiple books to find the information you need. This could be even more unwieldy since the core sets are split into 2 books a piece. There's a player's handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide. So the Rules Cyclopedia actually encompasses 8 smaller books. Another great thing about the Rules Cyclopedia is that the book contains the information to run campaigns all the way to max level. So if you're looking at a specific character type, let's say a fighter, you would see all the specific information from 1st to 36 levels, so experience points, savings throws, are all together. For these reasons, I feel that the Rules Cyclopedia is definitely essential if you plan to play a game in the BECMI system. There was one thing I didn't love about the Rules Cyclopedia, and please don't come for me in the comments, but that was the art. I grew up reading the basic rule sets, so I enjoyed the art there. It seemed more detailed to me. Reading from the comments, it seems that there's a lot of people who prefer the art from the Rules Cyclopedia. I think it's just what you grew up with, so let me know in the comments if you have a preference. I was initially surprised that the introductory adventure wasn't included in the Rules Cyclopedia, since it was that adventure that got me into Dungeons & Dragons, so I really wanted to read it again. At that time, I remember being into choose-your-own-adventure style books. So much so, I remember sneaking those books into my Scholastic book club, and I hope my mom wouldn't question me on that title called The Dungeon of Dread. I did an eBay search, and a good price for the Redbox Basic in good condition is much more than I wanted to spend, so I settled on the PDF. Then I went to my local game store and I bought these polyhedral dice. This is my first dice in many decades. Then I started reading through the introductory adventure. The introductory adventure explains the rules in a fun, narrative style and has 2 different endings. The introductory adventure is short, just about 10 pages, but it's packed with information. You learn about many things, like ability scores, hit points and savings throws, in a fun, narrative style. Combat is introduced very easy. It would say something like, the monster has 2 hit points, and you need a 12 or better to hit the monster. If you want to learn about Dungeons & Dragons, or the old school version of Dungeons & Dragons, this is a great place to start. Playing the adventure was bittersweet, because I am still haunted by the memory. During the adventure, you meet Aleena, a cleric. Aleena is older and a more experienced adventurer than you, and she gives you tips and guides you in the adventure. At the end of the adventure, you meet the evil magic user, Bargle, and his goblin henchmen. He casts an invisibility spell on himself. Aleena can't find Bargle and is starting to look worried. Suddenly, the sound of a spell comes from the far corner of the room, and the cleric turns and runs in the direction, waving her mace and shouting. The black-robed magic user appears in the same corner as the spell noise, with the glowing arrow floating in the air beside him. He points at Aleena, and the arrow shoots out and hits her. She wails and falls with a sigh, collapsing in the middle of the room. The glowing arrow disappears. It's kind of messed up. There is no way to save her. By the time you get to your cleric mentor, it's too late. The poor cleric was murked by a magic missile right in front of you, and the only thing you could do is carry her body back to her church. Reading through the introductory adventure, and a few pages after, I think the book is trying to build up your D&D skill set. The players are given rules very slowly, so not to overwhelm a would-be player, and I think this is what D&D Basic does well. It brings players slowly into Dungeons & Dragons. My last purchase was with the Masters of Ravenloft book. This is from the Super Endless Quest gamebook series. The adventure is based on Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1. I picked up my copy in pretty good condition. Back when I first owned this book, I read through it many times. It plays like another Endless Quest book, but you're given a character card, and you fight monsters using 2 6-sided dice, and you keep track of your stats on the stat sheet provided. After reading through the Rules Cyclopedia and the Player's Handbook in the Redbox Basic, I wanted to reread the original D&D modules. An original good condition module could be pricey, but I decided to go with the Goodman Games Adventures Reincarnated series. These books have the original printings, and also they converted the module to the 5th edition. I was familiar with all the versions, all the adventures that they chose to reincarnate, and I played through them all, with the exception of the Temple of Elemental Evil. The first book I purchased after the Rules Cyclopedia was Into the Borderlands. This book includes the Keep on the Borderlands, which was the first module I played. And if you're interested, I spoke about this on my last video. For Search of the Unknown, the module does its best to walk through new dungeon masters on how to run an adventure. The module also provides a straightforward dungeon for you to adventure within. Also, and maybe even more importantly, it provides room descriptions for each of the rooms within that massive dungeon. All you need to do is select the monster and treasure for the rooms. After I read through Search of the Unknown, I purchased The Isle of Dread. I had many fond memories with this adventure. The Isle of Dread adventure brings in elements of the Lost World trope. The party explores a large, undiscovered land. They even come across dinosaurs. This was a first for me in Dungeons & Dragons. So for me, I imagined Skull Island in King Kong, or maybe Land of the Lost, just with lizard men replacing the slee stacks.
Galactic, my friends.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft and plunged them down. Come on, get out of here!
After totally enjoying reading through The Isle of Dread, I purchased the Lost City and Castle Amber books together. I love the Lost City module, and I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video since I discussed it on my last video. You are only provided a map of the Lost City area, so it is up to the Dungeon Master to fill in the detail. Goodman Games did a great job filling in the other areas of the adventure too. So now, there are maps and details for the Lower Pyramid, the Lost City, Goblin Caves, and the Catacombs. The last Goodman game was Castle Amber. The adventure starts when your party is transported to a beautifully designed castle. There are 2 wings, a chapel area, all connected by an indoor garden. There is a curse on the Amber family. It is up to you to figure out the curse and to find a way to break it and ultimately get back home. This adventure is not the grueling dungeons that I usually play. You need to talk to the various insane and less insane family members of the Amber family to undo the curse. Let me know in the comments if you played any of these games, and let me know if you have any favorites and why. Truly, thank you for sticking with me for so long. This has been a lot of talking for me. Let me know in the comments what you liked and even what you didn't like. This would really help me improve. So, if you think I earned it, please subscribe to this channel and you'll be notified when the next video is ready. And I'll see you in the next dungeon crawl.
Dungeon Crawlers Level 1.